welcome to my channel. My name is Nancy, and today we are going to make this cute little gnome. And I have a video I will link below that I will show you how in that video to make his arms, his nose, and his little shoes. So I will link that below. Let's go over the materials you need. And I used for the body, I used a piece of fleece that is 14 by 14 inch square. I had some really strong crochet thread, a sock from the Dollar Tree, a piece of cardboard that's cut out in a circle about 3-inch diameter, maybe a little less, 2 3/4. A piece of fleece for the arms that's 4 inches wide by 10 inches long. Sorry, that's not 5 inches, that's 10. So it's 4 inches by 10 inches for the arms. And that will, the supplies will be linked in the description box below. His hands are 2 pieces cut out of black felt, 3 by 5 inch, and I will show you a different way I made his hands then in the video that I'm linking below. And then for his hat, I have a piece of cotton quilting fabric that's 12 inches by 14 inches, and you are going to fold up the edge. So this is the bottom of his hat that's going to go over his head down by his nose. So you want to fold that up so you have a nice finished edge. And I stitched it 3 times just for decorative. And then you're going to take and sew from this point up to here. If you want to make it longer and have his hat flop, you can do that. If you make it too long, then you can just start over and make it shorter. And before you cut this excess off, I would try it on his hat, on his head. You don't even have to turn it inside out because you'll have all that fabric. And see if it's going to be too big or too small. And then I have some ribbon for his hat. I have his nose made, and I have his shoes all made, and these are in the video that I'm linking below. And then I have a little flower and a little bird. And I have a cup of rice, about a cup, a little less, and some stuffing. So let's get started. We're first going to put the cardboard in the sock, and this is just going to help us so that when we put his shoes on, there's a flat surface, and it will help him to stand up on the shoes better. Then you're going to take and put your sock over your cup of rice, dump that in, and I kind of shake it down, and then pound it all down, and then we're going to stuff it. And I buy these socks that I get are from the Dollar Tree. They're like the ankle socks, and these are the kids size, and they have 2 different sizes, I think 1 through 7 and 2 through 7. So I have used both sizes because they do stretch quite a bit. So if you use an adult sock, you're going to have a huge gnome, because I have used those and their socks really stretch a lot. So you can fill this as full or as little as you want. And then I'm going to tie it off up here, but I'm going to do that after I get the material on for his body, so that if I have to stuff his head more, or if I have to take some out. So then we're going to take, and I have a piece of really long string, because I will show you how I like to wrap it around so that he is secure. And you're going to make sure you have the right side facing down, wrong side facing up. And you're going to take and center and pull up all your corners and gather all the rest of the material so you have it all tucked in, and I gotta get him over a little bit more. This is a 12 by 14, or no, 14 by 14. So if your sock is bigger, you're gonna want your square piece of fabric for your body to be bigger. And you can just use a sock. They have like their, oh, I don't know if they're not fleece socks, but those socks that they always carry at the Dollar Tree. You can use those. I have used those for the hats and for the body. So I'm going to take and wrap this around because I want to make sure I have all of this material hanging onto so it can get tied off. So I'm just going to wrap it, loop it, and then wrap it around again, and then pull it. I'm going to just tie it. I'm not going to knot it yet, so I'm just going to pull it. And a knot that I like to do, so here's a little tip, is I wrap it over once, twice, 3 times, and then pull it. So that gives it a nice and secure knot. And then I do just a regular knot. And just a tip for if you're going to use string, I don't use rubber bands because I know they can dry out and break. If you have string, you can use yarn, like an acrylic yarn. That is really good. That's cheap. You can get a lot of that. Just get a small skein and that will last you quite a while. But if you can take a piece of string and pull it really tight and it breaks, then it's not strong enough. So you're just going to fix your gathers. And then we're going to cut all this excess off. Leave that string long for now. So cut this off. And you could save this if it's big enough. If you were going to make for his arms, you could possibly use it for that. You could use it for hands, you could use it for shoes, so I usually save it. Because when I do my shoes, it doesn't usually take a lot. So I like the size of his head. And I think we have him tied off, so just cut that off a little bit. Leave a little bit hanging there, don't cut too close to the knot. And then just take half of your string, tuck in the stuffing that's in his head, and tuck it down, and then wrap the string around a couple of times and do that 2 or 3 loop knot and a regular knot. Cut that off about a 1/2 inch from the knot, and there we have the body to our gnome. I'm going to cut a little bit more excess off. I hope everybody's staying warm. It's so cold. We're going to have a few days where it's going to be awful. I'm in Minnesota, so it's been a good winter so far. It hasn't been too cold, so that's good. So then just try to find where you want the front of him to be. And then you're going to take your nose, and this is in my video that I've linked below on how to make my noses. When you watch the video, you'll see how to make it. You do not want to pull very tight on your string, and we leave this long because we're going to wrap it around the head, and I just have to look at the nose and see if I like it. See, I'm looking for my needle nose pliers, and I always have a pair of those around just in case if I can't grab onto fabric, and now I can't find them. But it should be okay. So I'm just trying to... Okay, I'm going to pause and try to find my pliers because I want to fix his nose. So I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. So I got a needle nose pliers because I want to fix his nose. It's not quite round enough for me. So I'm just going to try to be really careful and pull up some of these gathers, because you're not going to be able to do it with your fingers. And if these get too long, then I will just cut them off. But you'll see in the video that I link below on how to make my nose and my shoes and my arms on how I do this. And you can kind of shape your nose before you cut off your excess. So if you go watch that video, I like my noses big. The wooden ball is okay, but I like the bigger ones. Like his nose is really big, and I just think it gives him so much more personality. So I'm just trying to get this even. So that looks good. So I'm just going to cut a little bit of this off. Don't go too close to that string, otherwise it's going to come apart. And then we will glue part of this on after we get the beard on. So you find his front is going to be up here, and then take your strings, one on each side, and wrap it around where his neck is, and then wrap it around again. That's why you have to have it long enough. I would rather do it this way than just totally glue it on. I mean, you can do it that way. And then I'm just going to cut these a little. And then I'm just going to call it a triple loop knot. I seen a lady on Facebook, not Facebook, YouTube, sorry, do this knot, and I don't have any idea what it was called. And if it was I was watching a sewing, I don't remember, but I just thought it worked really good just to secure it a little bit more. And I'm not going to worry about that. I'm not going to cut that off. So there we have his nose. And I'm going to pull some of this up. So that's why these pliers are good, because when you see a spot that you might want to adjust, you can at least get a hold of it. And if you see a spot that's, not quite in there, you can pull it up. So I'm going to cut this off, so I'm careful I don't cut his nose. And there we go. So now I'm going to show you how I make his arms and his hands. I just made a tube, and so what I did, here I'll just show you with this little piece. I just took a piece and we're right sides together and sewed a seam all the way down, and this is, my arms were, my tag here, my arms were 4" by 10", and this is going to be both arms, both arms. So what I did was I took his hand and have the right side facing down, and I'm just going to fold it over, and you'll see why I do it this way. So there's a lot of different ways you can do arms and hands. And then fold that over and press it down, and then cut off that excess. And then I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm going to tuck it in his arm, and then I'm going to tie the wrist with some of the black string I've been using. And when I put my arms on my body, I make sure my seam is facing down. And then just make sure your hands are both even. And then I'm just going to take a piece of the string. This was left over from the body. I have 2 of them together. And so you want to make sure your ties are both on the same side. And then I'm just going to cut these in half so I can position each arm the way I want to. And then when I get this tied, I will glue it underneath. And then just cut that off about a 1/2 inch. And I'm just going to put a little bit of glue under here on both sides, just to hold it. And then I'm just going to take and fold it in half and cut it. And then I'm going to get his arm so the seam is going to be facing down, and I'm going to glue it right behind his head so you can position it wherever you want. And the reason I did my hands this way is so that I can tuck something inside. So I can tuck something inside here, like a little sign. I have another gnome I'm going to do another video on that I've got flowers. So that's why I don't know, I just came up with it and I thought, well, that's kind of cool because then you can change it out if you want. So I'm just going to glue that, and I'm just going to cut this at a little bit of an angle so it gets rid of some of the bulk. A little glue inside the arm and then on the outside. So right here and then some in there. And then just press it and kind of position how far you want the hand to hang down. And then we can glue a little bit more under here. And then I will leave it and then do the other one. I'm going to cut that at an angle. A little bit of glue inside. And you got to make sure you get the glue on the side that's got to be going against the back of his head. So it's the opposite side that the tie is on. And then just make sure you have both of the arms even. And then put a little bit more glue on. And then once we get the beard on and the sign, then we can decide if we need to glue the arms down on the sides more to hold in place, like his sign or whatever. Okay, so let's get his beard. I'm going to show you how I cut fur, and I'm going to give you a couple of cool tips. When you're looking for either fabric or fur, when I go to Joann's, I always look in the remnants first, because if I've gone and bought in fleece that is in the remnants, and the fleece, I believe, or the remnants now, they're probably trying to get rid of everything, is 70% off the price on the remnant. If the fur, if there was like I had bought fur, a roll of fur, and it was on sale, so I got the 50% off of the regular price, and then I got the sale price. So I usually ask them how much the remnant is, even if you don't know if the fabric's on sale. So you can get I've gotten some really good deals on some nice fabric. So the way you want to cut, and I don't use bigger scissors, it's just I don't have enough control. So the way you want to cut is you do not want to, and I'm just going to show you, I'm not going to cut. You do not want to cut through everything all at once, because then you're going to cut, your fur is just going to be straight. You won't have this nice, beautiful, fringy edge. So you're just going to take your scissors and you're just going to go right through the backing. And that's why I use the little ones, is because I have more control over the scissors with using the fabric than the bigger one, so that I know I'm just cutting the fabric or the backing. And then I take and cut this down so it's at a peak, and I'm still cutting the backing. And I cut that off, and you can round these if you want. And then I take and cut in a U shape. Up here it doesn't matter if you cut the backing, because your fringe is all going down that way. So that's how I cut my fur. Another tip is I got, it was a big piece of white fur from Joann's, and it was in the remnants, and I got a good deal on it, but it was all kinked, and I tried to wet it and brush it, and it looked horrible. And I thought, you know, I'm going to try my blow dryer. It worked awesome. And all I did was take my blow dryer, and I could do it with this piece too, but it's not too bad, is blow it and blow it until you see it getting smooth and then stop. You don't want to get too close. You have to have it high enough so it will heat it up and smooth it out. But you don't need to get very close. So all I'm doing is taking my glue and going underneath that U shape, and that's going to get tucked right underneath his nose, and I'm going to make sure that those gathers are underneath that beard, and pull the sides up and then glue these tabs alongside of his nose, and I try to get those close to his nose, right alongside of it. And then do the other side. This fur, I had looked for gray fur, was going to buy some online, and I just didn't see anything I liked. And I was at a thrift store, and they had this, like, ladies, kind of a shawl, fur shawl, that just went over the shoulders. And I seen it as I was walking out the door, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I just, like, I gotta get that. It was $12. It was really, it was maybe a yard long. And so I would look at your thrift stores for, even if it's an old jacket that has a, you know, fur on it. If you can get it for cheap, it's worth it. Especially if it's, you know, a color that you can't find. Okay, so the hat. So I sewed this ahead of time, so I'm just going to cut off this excess. And I have bought old sweaters at thrift stores and rummage sales. Love the rummage sales in the summer. And so I'm going to take my turner, and I have one that has an angle to it, and I got it at a rummage sale, actually. The other side is rounded. So this one came with my packaging of stuffing that I get from Walmart. It's a huge bag for 10 bucks. And this one is not bad, but I always tend to go to this one. So if you just get a dowel rod and cut it at an angle and just file it so it's nice and smooth. And then I'm sure you could round the edge if you just use like a sandpaper or a nail file or something just to smooth it. But I use this one all the time. I have certain tools that I always try to make sure I put them back so that I know I have them. So we're going to put his hat on. And then you're going to tuck, you're going to bring the point is going to go in the back, centered in the back, like between his arms. And we're going to glue that down. So you're just going to fold that up. And then put glue right on the hat. I have used the Dollar Tree socks for the hats, and that gets a little tricky, like I did in my Valentine gnome video. It gets a little tricky to try to glue the sock on, more so than it does with fleece or any other kind of fabric, because it's already stretchy. Okay, so we're going to just glue this down. Oh, what I didn't do, I was going to tell you, was I'm going to put some glue right down here where his nose is, right next to his body, just to be on the safe side, and try not to get any glue on the nose itself. If you get fur or anything on your glue gun, you'll have to wipe it off. So we got that. So I'm just going to take and put a little glue on the top of his nose so that I can glue his hat down. And then I'm going to glue it alongside of his arms. And then just make sure you don't get his fur stuck in there. And then just press that down. Let me get his fur out of the way. Let's see. I gotta get more glue for his nose. just press it down. I can try to get over here. And there we go. And we're going to put his shoes on. And this gets a little tricky because you have to kind of have it toward the front of his body for him to stand up. So I kind of set him on there. You can angle his shoes if you want to angle them out, if you want to have them both going the same way. So I kind of set him on there and see where he is going to stand. And right about there. So it's right about in the center. So I'm just going to take and leave the shoes together and put hot glue on both of them right on the top. And I probably could have used a little less because I'm sure it's going to squeeze out. Make sure his beard is out of the way. And then set him down. I got to make sure he's facing forward. So yeah, be careful how much glue you use. If you let it sit for a little bit, you can wipe it off. So we just want to let that sit and let him dry. And let's do his tie. I just have 3 pieces, about an 1/8 inch black ribbon. And that's how I did this one, was I tied it around his hat. So we get these even. And for me, I probably would have made this hat a little shorter because I like the other one. And then I just knot it. And then you can cut the ties. You can cut them however you want, if you want to leave them all long. Oops. And if you need to glue those down a little bit so they're kind of popping up, because we're going to put the flower over it. And if you like my channel, if you would click on that subscribe button, and then if you hit the notification bell, that will notify you each time I upload a new video. And if you like what you see, hit the like button, and then that helps my channel to grow. And if there's a tutorial or anything you'd like me to do, just leave a comment. And if you've already subscribed to my channel, thank you for supporting me. So I would love for you to join my crafting circle. So I just took a flower and put a brad in it. And so I'm going to glue that. Oops, first I wanted to forgot, I'm going to make a bow out of some turquoise ribbon and put that on top of the black, if I can get a bow made. And I have another tip, and I don't know where I seen this or if I came up with it. I couldn't tell you. So I'm going to take and I'm going to cut my ribbon, and I'm going to cut it a little shorter. But what you can do with your ribbon, and I'll do it to my black ones, is take a lighter, and you're just going to get the flame Not touching it, but close enough so it can feel that heat and not burn it. Don't light your ribbon on fire. So just close enough so you can melt it and you can see it happening. And then that's going to stop your ribbon from fraying. So we're going to put that on, and I don't like the way that one looks. So it doesn't even need to touch it, just needs to be close to it. And then glue this on, and then glue your flower on top. And our gnome is done. Yeah, this hat I would have made a lot smaller. It's just a little tall for me for one that's standing up, but that's preference. You can make it however you want. You can use whatever fabric. And then just glue your flower on. And then if you need to cut your ties shorter, you can do that. Let me get rid of some of this. And then I had some flowers that I just took off of some of my artificial, and one just came off. And I'm going to stick these in his hand, and that's why I did these hands. I was trying to think of a way, and I'm not going to glue it in there, so then I can take it out and change it. And if I wanted to put the sign, I can do the sign in his other hand. And this one, he just has little mitts, so I made his differently. So there's our gnome. So thank you for joining me today, and I will see you in the next video.